Luke chapter 9, verse 24 through 25. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will save it. What good is it for someone to gain the whole world and yet lose or forfeit their very self? I think that in this verse, when Jesus is speaking to his disciples about ways that we can pursue a relationship with him, he's telling us that there will be a cost to be in a relationship with God. There will be a cost to be a Christian. There will be times, like the Beatitudes say, when we will be persecuted and people will utter evil against us. So being a Christian is not going to be an easy choice. It's a very difficult thing to do. It's probably one of the hardest decisions I've had to make with my life, because when I chose to become a Christian, I had to put away with the sinful things that I was doing beforehand. This cost to be a Christian brings out in us our worldly desires and puts them to the side. I'm not saying we're not still going to be tempted by them, because they're still going to be there. But what it means to be a Christian is to have self-control and to control ourselves whenever we are tempted. And we have the strength of Jesus on our side as well. I think that in verse 25, when he says, what good is it for someone to gain the whole world and yet lose or forfeit their very self? Jesus is trying to say to the people is that, why would you want to live in this world if you're going to eventually die? Our time of existence here is so short anyway, so why not live it with purpose and be fulfilled in following Christ? We need to dive deep into our relationship with God, and we need to pursue a life of holiness. It will be costly. There will be decisions we have to make that will be hard. We will lose friends. We will be judged by others. But God tells us this directly in Scripture. He knows that it's going to be a hard choice to make. But it will be a worthwhile choice. Because whenever the time comes and God comes to restore His kingdom here on earth, we will be lifted up because we lived our life trying to follow God the best we could. I think one of the things that makes me upset at contemporary Protestant non-denominational services is whenever there is the whole emotional talk about coming up to the front and getting baptized. You hear a speaker, you hear the saving power of God, you hear about His grace, and being baptized and being cleansed, that's great stuff. But I think that one thing they forget to say is that before you do this, you need to realize this is going to be the hardest decision of your entire life. Because once you choose to be baptized and become a Christian, no longer are you going to be living for yourself. You're living for someone who is greater than you. You're living for the person who created you. But they don't say that. They don't usually say that at the services I've been to, at least. I think that should be said. Because whenever we baptize people and bring them into the church, we create this culture of people just jumping in, not knowing exactly what the church teaches or what Scripture says. I think that people need to learn a little bit more about our faith before they just jump in to following Jesus, because it will cost us a lot.